Welcome to our playground.
Recess the podcast is an eclectic show of organic discussion, imagination, deep conversations, interviews, creativity, intuition, high vibrations, and fun.
Be informed, energized, inspired, and entertained with me, Jamie.
And me, Brian. Ready or not, here we come.
Because we all need to take a break. Hey, Brian, how's it going today?
Jamie, I'm good. How are you?
You know, I need a break. I was looking forward to this podcast because it has been one of those days. I can't seem to find the right words. Now, granted, I'm an astrologer. Mercury's retrograde right now, so I can blame the little planet. But still.
Yeah, no, I've felt like that a lot the last week or so. Although today, I'm using my words today, I think, a little bit better and getting a little more clarity, which is good. Although, I mean, you just never know, right? I mean, it's a roller coaster for all of us, and sometimes the dips are a little bit longer than the whatever you would call that, the heading up the top, and everything's
not as easy as it sounds. Finding
no, right. Yeah. So, well, okay. Hey, don't worry about it. You just do your best today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? We talk about doing your best. And as a kid, my parents would be like, do your best. Be, better today than you were yesterday. I'm like, what is my best? Is it good enough?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And I'm sure it can be answered on many different levels. I guess ultimately, if we're trying our best, I mean, really trying our best, that means we're doing all that we can to maybe accomplish something or reach a goal or figure out a problem, right? So I guess that's ultimately all we can do. Right? And some days we just don't have it, or for one reason or another, or something happens that kind of throws us out of skew, and it can happen the other way too. Something can happen that give us a little burst of confidence. They kind of like, oh, I can do this. You know what I mean? And it just propels us. I don't know, what does doing your best mean to you?
Nowadays, it means that I'm actually accepting exactly where I'm at, whatever that may be. So maybe I have low energy. Maybe I can't find my words. So the best I can do is fumble around, or maybe the best I have in this moment is nothing, and being okay with that, because you and I both suffer from that perfectionist gene. So, and we know there's no real such thing as perfection because, do we ever actually arrive? I don't know. So, yeah. So I think my best is first checking with myself and recognizing where I'm at in that moment, and then trying to be as conscious about my words and actions after that.
I think that's great advice. Just like taking stock. It's almost self-awareness, and the goalpost is gonna change daily. Just like I used to talk about in my balance workshops. I mean, balance is a moving target, so our days are as well. And man, when we try to hold on to that perfection thing, I mean, I've let go of it a lot. I mean, I'm still want to do my best work, but if you're still kind of holding that perfection thing, even on those days when no matter what happens, it's not going to happen, it can really be rough.
Yeah. Well, how many times do you say, oh, I didn't do my best because I didn't push myself beyond how I was. And I'm like, is that doing my best though, to force something that isn't true? Now I'm not being authentic. Now I could injure myself or someone else, right? I mean, it's like, I've had some shitty workouts the last couple of weeks at the gym where I go and I do it more for just the routine and obviously the health benefits, but normally I'm inspired and I'm excited. I'm like, let's see if I can lift heavier today than I did yesterday, whatever. And the last couple of weeks I've just been like, wah, wah, wah. All right.
Well, I guess life can be a plateau sometimes for a little while. And we just have to kind of recognize maybe when it is. And it sucks sometimes, especially if you've got ideas and goals and want to do things. But I think there's so much wisdom in recognizing that. and giving yourself permission to take the foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Because, there's stuff working behind the scenes for us sometimes too. And we need to allow ourselves the break, whether it's physically, like you're talking about, or mentally and emotionally. And I'm doing better at that. I used to try to always push through, but man, in those times when I tried to push through, nothing would happen. So then, like, I waste 2 days, nothing gets accomplished. Why the hell didn't I just go freaking lay in the park?
Right. Right, exactly. I mean, I think about that often with taking time off, and I used to be I'd feel guilty about taking any time off, whether it was work or the gym or whatever, because
Yeah.
I was raised in an environment where you, when in doubt, just do something, you know. And there's a slight form of control that shows up there. You can be busy doing a lot of nothing, you
Oh,
know.
I've been the king of that during periods of my life.
Right. And what do you experience? Burnout, resentment, all kinds of stuff that, we taking that break, taking that step back, even if I have to force myself sometimes to take a break, it makes me hungrier or more inspired and enthused to get back to whatever that activity was.
Yes. And I've noticed the few times earlier on when I did recognize it and I said, screw it, I'm just going to go hike. That's when, the brain shuts up and we make room and for the ideas and the creativity and the intuition. And, otherwise our channels are closed because we're pushing and we're thinking we can work ourselves out of a lull.
Mm-hmm.
It never ever really happens.
Mm-mm. No, there is definitely. It's funny. I laid down yesterday. It was only going to be a 15-minute nap. An hour later, I wake up. I'm like, oh, I didn't want to sleep that long. But man, did I feel good.
You needed it.
Apparently. And I still went to bed just fine last night.
You needed it. Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Are you able to, well, you're recognizing it right now. Are you able to give yourself permission to take your foot off the gas a little bit? I mean, for however long that needs to be.
Yep. I am getting much better at it. I still have moments where I internally push myself maybe more than I should. But because of the practicing that I've done for so many years now of just allowing and flowing, be like water, just let things be. And it doesn't mean I don't have tasks to do, but instead of going, oh, I gotta get this done now and I gotta get that done now, it's more like, hey, what's calling to me right now? Let me just sit down, be present with it. And I do take a moment to take a conscious breath just to collect myself instead of just running from one thing to the next, because very often I've left part of myself on the previous task.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the other day, I was kind of having one of those days where nothing, even though I had ideas and knew where I wanted things to go, I wasn't really getting that synchronistic flow. So I just said, screw it. I'm gonna do my checkbook today. I'm gonna go pull some weeds. I'm gonna go run a couple of crappy errands I didn't want to run. Just do the basics.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it made me feel like I accomplished something.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes it's good to have lazy days where you do just sit and binge watch and you maybe go outside for a walk and you don't
Even
really
buying a
do.
Ben and Jerry's.
Mm. Now you're talking my language. I haven't done that in a long time. Some fish food sounds good now that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
That's my
I
favorite.
love the Cherry Garcia at best. I don't get it very much, but
Yeah, that one's good too. I can't say there's many I don't like. That's the problem.
I always get the same one every time.
Yeah.
I'm
Is
kind of
ice cream your guilty pleasure for sweets?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe once every 6 weeks or once every couple months, I'll go get one, and then my stomach will hurt after I pound it, and then it's like I remember why I don't do it very often, but it's good going down.
Yeah. My guilty pleasure, I have such a sweet tooth. I love sweets, but I don't eat a lot of them. But if I did, a very fresh homemade oatmeal chocolate chip cookie. Mm,
Sounds pretty good.
taken right out from the oven, chocolate still gooey. Oh, but then again,
Ah, you're
Rugby.
gonna send all of our listeners to the fridge.
I know, right? They're gonna walk away from this
Cookie
all.
jar. Damn those two.
I have to tell you this funny story. So one of my best girlfriends and I, we had decided that we were going to imbibe a little bit, and she had a dog at the time, and we were sitting out on her porch, and she called, what was the dog's name? I can't remember. Anyway, she called him Dog, but that wasn't his name. But that it was, and the way to train him, he loved Oreo cookies. So she had a cookie jar full of Oreo cookies. And so we were sitting outside, and I remember looking at her at one point, and I said, I think Dog's gonna get out of this house. And she's like, only if you let him out. And I was like, I wouldn't do that. Anyways, fast forward, I opened the front door, Dozer, that was his name. Out bolts Dozer. And she lived in a cul-de-sac at the time. I was like, oh, gotta go get the dog. So we go running after the dog, and she goes inside, grabs the cookie jar, and starts yelling cookie down the street. And I'm like, you do realize your neighbors may be thinking something very different than what you're yelling. Okay, way to advertise yourself there.
Did the dog come?
Eventually, I won't go into all the details of me hopping in a FedEx truck to go after him.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it was one of those stories that you kind of save for when you're drunk or high or something or both.
Okay.
Not that I'm encouraging any of that, but
Yeah. Your words are coming just fine today.
why, thank you. I'm doing okay.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of times, like, we've both done a lot of these in the past, either as a host or as a guest. And sometimes you just don't really feel like you have it that day, just maybe like you are saying yourself. But sometimes once you get going, all of a sudden, just like break the chains and I'm fine. Yeah, I know. You're right. I
Well,
mean,
it also, yes, and the person or people that you surround yourself with, like you're very energizing. So it makes it easy, you know?
thank
And
you.
I think we got good play here. So that helps.
Yes.
Which is a good reminder for people that I just want listeners to be aware of. I believe that we should spend 80% of our time with those who energize us and bring out the best in us, and 20% of those who drain us, consternate us, whatever. And the reason I say that, I don't think we should eliminate every single negativity in our lives, because it serves a purpose. How would we know we were getting polished if we weren't getting rubbed, right? So,
Yeah.
Kirumi. So yeah, I think we need some of that, but to really limit, if and I say 20% unconsciously, like if you're working with a group of individuals that you have no choice because it's your job, and they don't really gel with you, you still have to be professional about it, right? But you don't
Right.
have to spend your afternoons, evenings, weekends with them.
Right. Yeah. No, that's interesting. I never thought about it. It's like it's in my mind. It's like 100% if I can with the people. That it's an equal energy exchange and high vibe. But
Well, maybe my percentage
yeah,
is off.
sometimes you unconsciously you have to do that. It's not like you walk into an Eeyore at the grocery store who just starts spouting negativity and say thank you, but I've got to go to the ice cream aisle and leave.
Right?
But I mean,
Maybe you should come with me and have a pint. That might make you happier,
yeah.
at least initially.
Well, there was somebody at the gym the other day who she's there a lot, and when I walk in, sometimes she's chatting with the people at the desk, and the poor people because they're kind of stuck there. But she seems kind enough, but she's everything out of her mouth is a negative, and you can just kind of see how she's trying to engage the others to kind of pull them down with her. And I know she's not doing it consciously. Maybe she's just trying. That's how she's trying to get her energy, but.
Right.
She'll even sit sometimes in the recumbent bike next to me and just kind of talk to no one, hoping someone bites. And I don't ever bite because I just try to put a shield up around me. I mean, God bless her.
That's what
But
headphones are for.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, I mean, again, it's controversial, jury's out, whatever, it's a personal preference. Percentages can change, but I consciously try to surround myself with people who are positive and who are uplifting, who compliment, that sort of thing. But I also have some people that I talk with that are Debbie Downers, and there's just nothing you can do about that.
Well, yes, especially with what you do, I can see. Yeah, you've opened yourself up to that a little bit more than maybe I have, just you know what I mean, just because of kind of being a counselor and you know on the phone chatting with people.
Yeah. And people are allowed to feel what they feel, and but it's how you express it. And you can only, one of the things that my daughter and I do is we give ourselves 15 minutes of the BMW club, and that's it. So once we're done with the 15 minutes, and that, because I mean, I think there's a place and time for whining and complaining and, just to get it out. But I also notice I don't feel any better once that happens.
Right. Now I was trying to think, what does BMW stand for, but I think I figured it out.
Bitch, moan, whine. Welcome to
Okay,
the
yeah.
club.
I know. I mean, I don't do it very often, but sometimes, they'll start chatting with somebody and they'll ask how it's going. I said, well, do you want to really know? And it's not like I just go, but I'll mention a few things and yeah, it's like, thanks for listening. But yeah, I don't really feel that great, but I don't know. I guess it's nice to be able to let it out every once in a while and know that there's somebody there that will be a retainer for a little bit. It's not like it's an all the time thing.
Well, one of the things you can do too is really set yourself up for success is having somebody that you trust, feel safe with, and you set them up with, hey, I really just need to vent.
Yes, there
Right.
you go.
So that way they're prepared. They can say, I don't have the capacity to hold that right now. I've got way too much of my own stuff going on.
Brilliant. I like that a lot.
Yeah. I do that with my kids often when they'll call and they'll go, Mom, I need to talk about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, do you need me to listen? Do you want advice? What role am I playing? And that way I don't automatically jump into being the parent or, like when my daughter came to stay with me during my surgery earlier in the summer, I said, I don't want you to be my mom. I don't want you to be my daughter. I want you to be my friend.
Hmm.
And that was the role I wanted to play. So, and she did. She was like, as your friend, Mom, I'm going to tell you what to do.
I mean, communication and parameters are so important, and yeah, we're not always there and available and have 100% to give to someone when they want it, and so if you can just chat with somebody ahead of time or say, hey, I'm about 30-40% right now, just FYI, or I mean, whether maybe even I saw this somewhere, like people who are in a relationship, maybe Brene Brown was talking about it, but she and her husband, if somebody needs something, whatever, and say, hey, where are you at, honey? And, and I'm at 30%, where are you at? I'm at 70%. I got you this time, you know what I mean? Or vice versa. So it's not always expected and no one gets hurt or thrown for a loop when maybe their partner, or spouse, or friend, or family member can't really be there for them the way they want them to be.
Absolutely. There's a phrase, I'm going to see if I can find it while we're talking here, that I love about relationship and boundaries. And it really, it's a nice phrase about being in relationship. And it's from a therapist, and I can't find her name. Anyways, but basically it says, remember that intimate relationships are all about meeting each other's needs, not our perceptions of what they should be. Instead of giving our significant others what we ourselves want, we need to give them what they want. And when we meet their needs, they'll feel secure enough to meet ours.
It's like the love languages.
Yeah. But I've shared that concept with an idea with a couple of people, and I get a little pushback sometimes because it's like, well, wait a minute, how do I get my needs met? I can't, then I'm over giving, right?
I guess you just have to share with the other person that this is how you need, this is what you need, this is how you want to be,
Yeah,
attended to, or just, met.
right. But I do notice that in my different relationships that it's not over giving, it's meeting the person where they're at and then asking for reciprocation or what I need or whatnot.
Yes.
So,
Good
yeah.
stuff. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Tell you what, relationships are one of the best ways to meet yourself.
Oh, now I know there's a lot of gold.
I always say it's so much.
Sometimes it feels like fool's gold, but I mean, there's a lot of gold there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, I'd rather be single. And, being single is so much better. I'm like, I don't know, it's better. It's just easier because you don't have to bump up against anybody but yourself. When and you win every argument or whatever, you can only be mad at yourself, but it certainly doesn't offer wholeness in my mind.
No, 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 no. I mean, if you're with the right person, I mean, you're missing out on support, intimacy, just I don't know, having someone in your corner, that it's really important. I mean, because I mean, speaking from myself, someone who for like a long time, about 10 years, I had one relationship in there, but when I was in LA, I was so focused on creating what I felt like I needed to do. I felt like if I let someone in, that would deter me or throw me off. And looking back, and maybe there's a little bit of truth to that, but for the most part, if you find the right person, it it gives you a lot as well, and it gives you, I think, a sort of quiet confidence, and as well as like if you're single, even if you kind of feel like you want to be or need to be, you still kind of have your antennas up a little bit, and that takes energy,
Right.
right? And so if you're with somebody that's solid and you want to be with, and just you're able to meet each other where you're at and what you need to do, then it can be really.
This may be a conversation for, yeah, maybe a conversation for another podcast, but the
Yeah.
evolution of relationships, how they've evolved over centuries and time and, the thought process, because I witnessed like, my kids, I have the traditional one with my son who's married and expecting my first grandchild, they bought a house. I mean, they're doing the whole traditional thing. And then I have my daughter and her boyfriend who have lived together for just as long as my son and daughter-in-law have been together, but they don't care about getting married. They don't care about having kids. They don't care, it's almost opposite ends, but they're obviously committed. So
Yeah.
yeah, just I'm always fascinated with the evolution because I noticed with the next generation, they're not wanting kids like the older generations did, or even getting married.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah, we should definitely have it. We'll have a show about this for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it'd be, yeah, the world's an interesting place right now. And it would be a little scary to bring someone in to have to, I don't know, just with all the changes that are happening and potential for climate change and what have you. Um, yeah,
Absolutely. Look, if we don't believe that climate change is happening, then we don't live on this planet. I mean, you just look at the weather patterns and everything that's going on, and I mean, yeah, it's a real deal. So that's another
yeah,
topic.
yeah.
I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they were asking, they were like, "Is this shit show ever going to calm itself down?" And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we've been talking about it. Every generation talks about their struggles. Oh, we never had to deal with that when I was a kid. Okay, well, now we do. And there'll be another thing. I mean, we're moving to the age of machines. So AI is going to be a big topic. I was listening to the news earlier this morning, and uh, Audi is kind of spearheading this thing, but it's a safety check for that they're going to install in cars, and a lot of car makers are going to get behind this too, where it will notify you or alert you of school buses, emergency vehicles, things like that, so that you have time to prepare. Hey, there's a school bus ahead. So it helps to prevent accidents and things like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of fascinating. But
Yeah.
again, new problems, right? We've got technology that has to be adjusted to, and
Things have moved so fast.
yeah.
It's just amazing if you really look back at our lives, how much has changed and how quickly it has changed in a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're the historian. Look at even things like this. The US has had more shootings, school shootings, and just shootings in general this year than they did in the last, I think it was 5 years or something. I mean, it was ridiculous. And why I'm bringing that up is I think about the evolution of weapons. So, 2 centuries ago, the weapons of choice were a bow and arrow, right?
Or
And
not,
just
yeah.
producing the muskets or whatever, right? But so there was weapons, there were things, there were survival things that you had to worry about that you don't have to worry about now. But anyways, just that whole evolution.
Yeah.
So it
No.
goes back to, is this shit show ever going to end? No, it's just going to be different. And we as humans have to evolve to be able to respond to it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole can of worms there, but gosh, I'd like to think we're in a period of things breaking down so they can ultimately become better. I mean, it's hard to, who knows really, but it does seem like people are becoming more self-aware and conscious, and that's a good thing. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I think the more self-aware, and this is where I know you and I resonate, is the more self-aware we are as human beings, the better choices hopefully we'll make.
Yes, and the more authentic choices that we'll want to make. And in turn, I think the better for all.
Right. Well, let's hope the conscious choices are of benefit. I don't want to make a conscious choice to be angry and go harm myself or someone else. So
No. Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. No, this is good.
Yeah. No, it's always good to play. Thanks for taking a break with me. I needed
Oh
that.
my gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Got some
Um,
serious topics, but some fun stuff in there too.
yeah. I'm gonna we're winding down here. I've got just a quick little question we can each answer just to help everybody maybe learn a little bit more about ourselves. What is something that people would never guess about you just by looking at you?
Wow, that's a good question.
Right.
I've had a lot of people, okay, I've had a lot of people assume that because I'm blonde hair, blue eyes, decent looking, that I'm a party girl. I like a good party, but I was not a party girl in high school. And then I had a baby at 19, married. Yeah, it actually wasn't until my kids became young adults that I started to allow myself to party, if you will. So, yeah, what about you?
Interesting. Gosh, somebody just well, as I don't know, it's interesting. I mean, I guess when I chat with people and what have you, I mean, a lot of them have no idea maybe of some of the stuff that I've done. But maybe like I don't know, for a while there, I lived a different lifestyle and I was really, I mean, I was still very healthy. However, I mean, I was all in with, the triathlons and I rode my bicycle across the country, did the 50 triathlons and the 4 Ironman. So, I mean, I was like, it was a lifestyle. And so I don't know, maybe just somebody just walking up and chatting with me would have no idea about something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff. I think one of the other things I would say is that when you first meet me, you probably think that I am not, well, I'll say it this way. If you knew I was a Cancer sun, you would never peg me for one because I am not moody. At least I don't show it. So
I've even mentioned that to you before.
everyone who knows me and says, "What sign are you?" I'm a Cancer. Really? You don't act like a Cancer. And that's true. So,
I agree.
and
I mean,
one other,
I'm a Gemini and I've dated a few in my distant past, and it just there's no, I don't know, there's some connection, but there's also it's not an easy connection just because I don't know, but yeah, I would not have guessed that at
yeah,
all.
yeah. I mean, maybe internally I can get moody, but for the most part, I'm pretty laid back. I'm parallel to the floor.
No, you seem very grounded and pretty much drama free.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. So
Pretty much.
one
At
other
least,
fun
at
fact,
least when I'm not around.
I was born and raised in the state of South Carolina, and I have a very, very hardly any accent. Most people would not guess South Carolina.
Has it always been that way, or did you just kind of lose it?
I purposely worked on not having one because I have a bias. So we all have biases, but I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, where it was you were either black or you were white. And I went to a school that was international. And so we had kids from all over the world that I went to school with. And some of the way I learned to play basketball, which I was pretty damn good at, was from this group of black guys at the park. And I was 8 years old and they taught me. And so I could never grasp the racial issues. And I didn't want to be associated with being an ignorant redneck. So that's my bias. And I apologize for any offensiveness that people might have on that. But I think these are subjects that we should talk about,
Yeah.
because our environment does shape us. So anyway, so I had remember consciously choosing not to have a Southern accent because I equated that with being racist, which is not true, but that's
Right.
what I equated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
So here's a fun thing for listeners to do if they want in the chat in our comment section. So
Yeah.
there is a name. Everybody I shouldn't say everybody, several people when I was growing up said, "Are you sure your name is Jamie?" I'm like, well, yeah, that's hello. Well, I thought you were fill in the blank. I'd love to see if anybody wants to come up with the name that people thought I was named.
Wait a second.
They look at me and they go, "You don't look like a Jamie. You look."
Oh. Have you really? You get that a lot? Really? I would not have ever.
Yeah.
I seem like one to me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Just about every city I go, someone goes, "Have you been here before? You look familiar."
I get the familiar thing a lot, and I don't know. I mean, people say I look like a family member or whatever it is, but I don't know if it's also because maybe some of the stuff I was in when I was in LA, but I get that a lot.
Cool. I wouldn't question Brian for you, but
Yeah, I don't either, and I've never really ever had anybody say that either. Like you get it for you. That's crazy.
I would say once a year I meet somebody new, and they're like, "Is your name so and so?" I'm like, "No, it's Jamie." Like, "Oh, you don't look like a Jamie."
You should ask him, what do I look like?
Oh, I do. They'll either
Okay.
call me that name, or I will ask them, what would you think I would look like? And it's always the same name, which I find fascinating.
What?
I'm not going to tell you. I want the listeners to call.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you offline.
No, that's all right. No, that's interesting. And I think it'd be fun too to have everybody who wanted to just share where they're listening from, like
Yeah,
where they're at.
that'd be fun. Maybe I'll get one of those maps and I'll put a pin on the map from everybody and where they're at.
That's a great idea. I think we should do that. I was just in a sandwich shop in Flagstaff over the weekend, and they had that too. Pins from all over the United States and the world of people who visited there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I do too. Well, thanks for playing and creating with me today.
Yep, thank you. Glad you found your words.
Somehow I never fail. There's a whole nother story behind that one too. Remind me, maybe another podcast tell you about my second grade teacher who thought I was the good student. Little did she know.
You're okay. We will talk about that.
All right. Good to see you, Brian.
All right, you too.
See you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for joining Jamie and Brian on Recess, the podcast, the twice-weekly show of eclectic, inspired, and entertaining discussion. Be sure to subscribe as well as share with your friends and spread the good news. It's always appreciated. If you'd like to learn more about Jamie's intuitive coaching services and creative projects, please go to jamiedawn.com. And if you'd like to learn more about Brian and his creative spark world and books, please go to gbrianbenson.com.